Grady Demond Wilson, born on October 13, 1946, and passing peacefully on January 30, 2026, lived a life defined not by a single moment of fame, but by depth, conviction, and quiet strength. To millions, he will always be Lamont Sanford, the grounded, soft-spoken son on Sanford and Son, a role that placed him in living rooms across America from 1972 to 1977. Yet reducing Wilson to that character alone does a disservice to the man he truly was. He was an actor who understood timing and restraint, a soldier who carried the weight of war, an author who wrestled openly with belief, and a pastor who chose service over spotlight. Though his career brought him financial success, his greatest wealth was found in faith, family, and the courage to live honestly, even when that meant stepping away from fame. Roots in Georgia and dreams forged in New York. Wilson's story began in Valdosta, Georgia, but it was New York City that shaped his earliest dreams. When his family relocated north, the city's creative energy wrapped around him at an astonishingly young age. By just 4 years old, he had already appeared on a Broadway stage, a rare and remarkable feat that hinted at what was to come. Dance became his first language of expression. He studied tap and ballet with discipline well beyond his years, learning control, balance, and emotional storytelling through movement. At only 12, he performed at Harlem's Apollo Theater, a venue sacred to Black artistic history. Standing on that stage was more than a performance. It was a quiet affirmation that he belonged in spaces where culture, struggle, and artistry met, and that his voice, even then, mattered. Faith, fragility, and a childhood promise. Faith was not something Wilson discovered later in life. It was woven into his upbringing. Raised Catholic, he served as an altar boy, and once seriously considered the priesthood. His spiritual world expanded further during summers spent with his Pentecostal grandmother, Ada Mitchell, whose passionate faith left a lasting impression. At 13, his life took a dramatic turn when his appendix ruptured, bringing him dangerously close to death. The experience shook him deeply. In that fragile space between fear and survival, Wilson made a promise to God that if his life were spared, he would serve him in a meaningful way. Though fame, success, and ambition would dominate his early adult years, that promise never faded. It quietly followed him, shaping choices he would not fully understand until much later. War, wounds, and the search for healing. From 1966 to 1968, Wilson served in the United States Army with the 4th Infantry Division during the Vietnam War, an experience that permanently altered him. Combat left him wounded, both physically and emotionally, and like many veterans, he returned home, carrying invisible burdens. The war stripped away any remaining illusions about life and forced him to confront pain, fear, and survival at their rawest. Rather than bury those experiences, Wilson turned to art as a form of healing. He immersed himself in Broadway and off-Broadway productions, using performance as a way to process trauma and reconnect with himself. The stage became a place of restoration, where discipline met emotion and creativity offered relief. These years shaped his resilience and gave his later performances a depth rooted in lived experience, not just technique. From stage to screen and the road to television, Wilson's transition into film and television happened gradually, built on consistency rather than overnight stardom. He appeared in guest roles on popular shows like Mission Impossible and All in the Family, leaving strong impressions even with limited screen time. His calm presence and understated authority made casting directors take notice. Film roles followed, including appearances in The Organization and Dealing, or the Berkeley to Boston 40-brick Lost Bag Blues. These projects may not have made him a household name, but they sharpened his craft and prepared him for something far bigger. Each role taught him restraint, patience, and how to hold space alongside stronger personalities. Unbeknownst to him at the time, these lessons were quietly preparing him for the role that would define his public legacy and challenge him in unexpected ways. Becoming Lamont Sanford and television immortality. In 1971, Wilson was cast as Lamont Sanford on Sanford and Son, a decision that would permanently place him in television history. The role ultimately found its perfect match in Wilson, whose measured performance balanced Red Fox's explosive comedy. As Lamont, he played more than a straight man. He became the emotional anchor of the show. His patience, moral grounding, and subtle humor gave the series its heart. The chemistry between Wilson and Fox was undeniable, creating a dynamic that blended laughter with genuine warmth. Week after week, audiences saw a relationship that felt real, imperfect, and deeply human. Sanford and Son became one of the most beloved sitcoms of its era, and Wilson's portrayal ensured that beneath the jokes, there was always a sense of family, responsibility, and quiet love. Carrying the weight and choosing forgiveness. When Red Fox abruptly left the show in 1974 over a salary dispute, Wilson found himself carrying Sanford and Son in an unexpected and emotionally complex moment. He stepped into the spotlight with professionalism, holding the series together until Fox returned. Yet behind the scenes, the experience left scars. Wilson later shared that the deepest hurt was not Fox's departure itself, but learning about it indirectly, through hallway conversations rather than honest dialogue. It was a moment that tested his sense of loyalty and trust. Still, Wilson chose forgiveness over resentment. He recognized the love that existed beneath the conflict and refused to let bitterness define him. That decision spoke volumes about his character, revealing a man who valued grace over ego and understood that relationships, like life, are rarely simple. Beyond the sitcom and finding his voice. After Sanford and Son ended in 1977, Wilson continued acting with quiet determination. He starred in Baby I'm Back and later portrayed Oscar Madison in The New Odd Couple, demonstrating his range and commitment to growth. Film roles followed over the decades, including Full Moon High, Me and the Kid, and Hammerlock. Yet as the years passed, writing became a new outlet for his convictions. Deeply rooted in Christian belief, he authored books that reflected his spiritual concerns and personal evolution. His memoir, Second Banana, offered an honest, reflective look at his career, acknowledging both triumphs and struggles without bitterness. Through writing, Wilson reclaimed his narrative, speaking not as a celebrity, but as a man determined to tell the truth about fame, faith, and identity, ministry, family, and a lasting legacy. In 1984, Wilson fulfilled the vow he made as a child by becoming an ordained minister in the Church of God in Christ. From that point forward, ministry was not a side chapter, but a central purpose. He appeared on faith-based programs, participated in religious theater and film, and focused on stories of redemption and healing. Family remained his foundation throughout it all. Married to model Cicely Johnston since 1974, he raised 6 children, grounding himself in home and service rather than celebrity. Wilson passed away from cancer-related complications at his home in Palm Springs at the age of 79. His legacy is one of humility, courage, and faith, a man who made people laugh, reflect, and believe. Though the screen has gone dark, the light he lived by continues to shine.